there.
All right, you're now on camera. Lydia, check the sound. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. Lydia, would you like to walk out there and introduce him?
Can you talk? I can't hear anything.
Okay, am I supposed to speak? Words? Any words in particular, I should say?
Huh? You're not hearing anything?
Oh, good.
It's recording.
Well, that's normal. Every time I talk, no one hears me anyway.
Let's see. Let's plug this in. It's in? And you're not hearing anything?
That's amazing. Is that the same old
Okay.
How's that? Try that now?
Talk.
talk? Again?
Better,
Oh.
really quick.
Okay, good. Okay.
Speak to me softly.
Say testing 1, 2, 3. This is a
I get the test. This is a test. 1, 2, 3. See, it's the same test. He was doing this test 40 years ago. You know,
20.
you think they should buy somebody's time to do this just to go around and yell and say, this is a test. I will be recording for years to come.
Okay.
Famous.
See if you could tell us something about your experience. The story that we all know and love.
Interesting.
That is now 10 years later.
What can you say about the story 10 years later?
Yeah.
That's really good.
What is your primary recollections of the Brian Scott story? Of the transformation. December 22nd, 1976, Tiwanaku.
Well, you know, all the things that were pretty well recorded, you know, all the things that we knew about,
Yeah.
you know, the recollections are all there, places we went and things we saw and people we met and all the weird things that happened with all the things, including all the people. But, you know, there was a point in this when it really came to an end. You know, pretty much, what's it been now, 10 years, right?
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah.
At least.
Well, Marla and I went back out to the little place in the rocks out there in the canyon, that amphitheater.
Uh-huh.
And the same thing happened. It started it all off with Marla, where the rocks started to glow and voice like out of nowhere. And all they really said, which wasn't very much, this is a real short conversation here.
Yeah.
You know, all you get out of this pulsing voice, weird, dead still, you know, that same thing as before,
Uh-huh.
is they just more or less said goodbye, you know, sort of turned me loose. You know, we had done what we set out to do. You know, the whole point of the thing was to find out about where are the people today. And the trip to Washington, you know,
Uh-huh.
that kind of told them where the voice of the people was.
Well,
Surprisingly enough. You know.
uh,
I mean, I know, I guess all the original plans for things they were going to do, like 2011,
yeah.
you know, that's still going to happen. They still will come back. You know, the last kids, you know,
Uh-huh.
go around, shake hands with a few people.
Uh-huh.
Sort of shake hands for purpose. Remember the idea about exchanging the bacterias?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this was just to kill out the race, and that's going to be the end of them. So they will do that, you know, our little world and a few other worlds that they were going to go back and visit. So I guess
And
in the
that's to
end.
kill out their race?
Yeah, because that's the last, so I understand that was the last genetic strain that they could do anyway, from all the cloning.
Yeah.
You know, as the last one. It's either take the knowledge that they had, impart that in some way to a civilization, a world that could do something with it other than kill themselves, right?
Yeah.
That's what they were hoping for, was to go back and touch base with all those people. Like when they visited here with the pre-Inca.
Uh-huh.
You know, this is totally a different world now. But, you know, the thing then was, you know, people were very hostile then. You know, nowadays they're just as hostile and even more. 10 times as much.
Well, what was their purpose overall, if you had to say their purpose in one sentence?
Their purpose?
Yeah.
Stupidity had to be their purpose. They wouldn't have a purpose. I mean, like, it's hard to define a purpose. I'm sitting here trying to think, you know, I mean, they
What were they trying to accomplish with you?
Oh, with me?
Yeah.
What did they used to say? Like, you're one in 1,000 stars? Like one person out of hundreds and thousands of people that they had met or touched or sometime had, you know, in some way spent some time with these people?
Yeah.
You know, each of us had, I guess, little experiences, little things that came out of it, little things we could do, or hope to do. And I guess their end of it would be if you had all these different people, and each, say you had 10 people, right? And they each had a chore to do. And if in doing all 10 chores, the outcome of all 10 chores was some bigger, better something for the world, humanity, that would be good. But the problem was that they couldn't judge any of that stuff. It's really us making the judgment, you know, on what is good or what's not good. So back to that same thing about the people. I mean, their whole thing dealt around, you might have a spearhead person, like with the experience I had, I'd be like the spearhead. But the people involved with the story and how it grew, up to the point where we made the trip to Washington, that kind of, you know, I kind of ended it all because, you know, their general feeling was that, you know, you did what you set out to do. You did make some gifts, some contributions, but actually to go on past that wasn't going to work out. There was no way to bring some of this technology together that it wouldn't wind up destroying the planet. Yeah, like quantum displacement physics, all that we talked about.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in some way, because of the technology, if that was used in the wrong direction, in the very early stages while we were just getting started with that, you know, getting through the natural laws, there are some natural physics involved here that have to be overcome first. Once that starts to move, it could very easily, in the first breath, go into the wrong direction and become a weapon of some sort that would be used for, you know, death. I mean, imagine here you are sitting here, and you take your 10-ton nuclear warhead and you don't launch it, you just transport it, and it's downtown Moscow next 5 seconds, right?
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, yeah, so all that really happened at the Place of the Whole is Marla was told, you know, thank you for her involvement, and that would be the end of the you know, the stuff that was inside of me, that little by little by little over a period of months, I should begin to see some of the stuff go away. You know, the ones that I had put out there, like, you know, the NOR, things that would deal with that, the, well, trying to use the cybernetic part of all this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of that, you know, the language of light and sound and that, and how it would work in, work in different healing exercises, or things that dealt with children who had, you know, cerebral palsy or speech problems. You know, to take something like that and take it out of the occult side and all the mystical side, but just put it out there as a tool to help handicapped kids, you know, handicapped adults, to do something with it, to do more of a service for humanity. You know, that's all there because that got completed, right? So what's that? That's like one gift out of the 10. I think there was 10, wasn't there?
Yeah, 10.
So 1 out of 10. I guess that's better than shooting fish in a barrel. At least that happened.
What about Qumran?
Oh, the whaling, the thing with the wall?
Yeah, what about this?
Well, I know that's one of the places that the children go back to. You know, that last part of this, remember how this thing runs? It's like they go 22 years. The cycle really ends. They start to die down. At 17, 18 years, they begin getting weaker, less able to do some of the things mentally and physically. It's kind of like imagining us at 95, 100 years old. You know, you start to slow down. The last generation that would come out in that last 17 years, some of the children will wind up in Qumran.
Well,
how many? I don't know. I
Is
don't even know anymore. I really don't. So much of this stuff is, it's like I've been mind-washed into a different direction now. You know? This is called the world of normality. And it is funny because once you put this, you take it out of your head and you put it away and you say, okay, this is a book. It has a chapter that got done. Close the book and forget the rest, right?
Yeah.
You know, if you can do that, just walk away from it, at least you come out the better in the end. You come out more strong, I think.
But Qumran was
Go away, fly.
was a
Sorry about that.
that's the start of that's where John the Baptist lived, and that's where Christian religion really sort of started.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that sprung up, the different places throughout the earth that they had some touch, you know, not much of an involvement, but a little bit of a touch. God, Qumran, you know, all those different places we went to in South America, there's lots of other places too. I mean, that's just a small spot. I mean, there's places right here with the American Indians. But, you know, the timing in this is different. You know, you jump back anywhere from what is it, 26,000 years ago to 21,000 years ago. All throughout that whole entire time, there were different little touch me, see me, feel me's going on. And I guess all those cultures, every one of them that developed, they went off and they had these different things going on with it. I remember one of the ones that was funny was back during the, get past, or the earlier times back there in Qumran, and then you get up to where you're having the holy wars and everything else.
Yeah.
And then today, of course, that still goes on up there in Belfast.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting to these people.
Well,
imagine having, you can see wars and things and battles over lands, and battles over philosophies, and battles over even what belief. Wow, how weird.
what's their purpose in getting involved with people?
They actually don't get involved. That's the funny part. I mean, physically involved or mentally involved, it's like, remember, I used to ask questions like, what is this? And you would get this visual picture and a feeling as if you were really there. But it'd be like looking at a film that you're actually involved in the film, and depending upon what actions you take, you can change it in some way. So if they say that this is where they've been, you can't really change that. But this is something like they would say, this is where we will be. The we part is not really them, it's a you. It's kind of funny. It's like you're walking down that road, and all those things come on you. They really do. I mean, if you go off and goof it up nicely, so you do. So you maybe make something good out of it too. It's still really, it's all up to you. So they don't really take a direct involvement. It's the people around the whole thing. It's like, how can you say, here's a biscuit, I'll throw you a bit, well, cookie, remember cookie? Here, I'll throw you a cookie, and you take a bite of the cookie, and if you like it, then pass it around and share it. And you do that, and you pass it around and you share it, and 10 different people take a bite of the same cookie, and you probably get 10 totally different taste buds out of it. You might even get 1 or 2 people that hate the cookie. But what you do with it is up to you. How you use it is up to you. They only offered in the very early days, Qumran, Tiamanaka, just a little bit of guidance, towards some of the stuff. As we got a little smarter, or at least we thought we did, accepting some of that wasn't so hard for us. We could accept some of the challenges because of the world around us was a little more vast. If nothing else, at a certain point, I mean, you talk to people nowadays, and at least you can talk to people, and you don't feel like you're totally lost. I mean, you go back here a few years ago, you talk to people about this, and you wind up being burned at the stake, right?
Let me ask you one question. Just 2 weeks ago, in the headlines of the newspapers, was a revelation about the Ural Mountains. The CIA's formally admitted now that there was a nuclear explosion in the Ural Mountains, and that it was the storage of underground waste. Now, in your story, the host gave you that information as a sign to mark the mind of all mankind. Yeah, just like the meteor. What do you think about it?
1,000 particles thereof.
Yeah. I mean, those are some pretty traumatic signs. What do you think of them now when you look back?
I still think it's the cookie story. People need something. They have to have something they can identify with or believe in or something. And I believe from one of these many, many talks you might have in trying to understand human nature, it's a lot easier to convince a few people if you can give them a sign. It's like, imagine in the old days, the biblical prophets, the prophets performed various types of small miracles, and some pretty big miracles, like, Moses, the parting of the Red Sea and such. And imagine today if you were to have that happen and someone walks to a river and waves a stick and all of a sudden the whole river parts. You can imagine how many followers are going to follow this guy?
Right.
I mean, God knows where they're following him to. Guyana-sburg, that was kind of interesting. I mean, right? Am I the right word? Is it Guyana-sburg?
I don't know.
You know where they got it, where they all killed themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim Jones.
Yeah, Jim Jones. But the,
Well, you kept,
I don't know.
What kept you from using these signs and going off the deep end and...
Probably me. You know, from what I gathered out of this, most of the people that have had some little touch of this, there must be some magic inside. It's like, how can you say Campbell's soup stirred up twice or something, you know? And all these different recipes, it's different for different people. You know, I understood that still to this day, you know, some people were able to take some of this knowledge, know what to do with it to keep it from becoming a monster, you know, something that would do more harm than good. And they did find ways to maneuver it into different science, into different philosophies. But initially, it's the same old story of just putting it out there and then seeing how the people react to it, you know, how it matures. You know, if you have some control over a lot of that and some direction, then the outcome can be very good. You know, at least if it's something you can pull the cord on when you want to.
Yeah.
You know, let's say you put something out there that's really not working out at all. If you can pull the cord on it at any given moment and it no longer exists, then that's great. Maybe some of the things that they were showing me on how to items, you know, objects, dematerialize and rematerialize objects. I mean, imagine just doing that with just a thought that you would throw out there, and some masses of people pick up on it and they say, well, that sounds pretty good. And at the same breath, you could turn right around and take the thought right away from their minds. It never existed, right? Yeah, it's kind of what's been happening over the last 10 years. The the debriefing exercise was to return Brian to normal. You know, not to put me back to where I was when we started working in the sheet metal plant, you know, but to get back to being a normal person. You know, by the way, your little red light on that camera is having a fit.
Well, it's getting towards the end of this tape.
Oh.
But, so I can change tapes here. Let me change tapes.